What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 16 Saturday games. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. Okay, in this video, I'm going to give my top DFS picks for today's 3-game Saturday slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at the quarterback position. I like Tom Brady from the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the Detroit Lions, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the third most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Tom Brady has averaged 21.8 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 26, 16, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's going to be about 33% owned, projected at 24.4 fantasy points here on Saturday, and he's 6,800 DraftKings salary and 1,200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 54 points scored in this game, with the Tampa Bay Bucks favored by 10. So you got a fantastic matchup, a high-scoring game, and a game that the Tampa Bay Bucks need to win. So I like Tom Brady here versus the Detroit Lions. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. I like DeAndre Swift from the Detroit Lions playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they've been pretty good versus opposing running backs, but DeAndre Swift has averaged 15.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.4 rush attempts per game and 4.5 pass targets per game. But he scored 23 fantasy points last week off of 15 rush attempts and 5 pass targets. He's going to be about 32% owned, projected at 15.1 fantasy points here on Saturday, and he's 6,400 DraftKings salary and 800 more on FanDuel. So we know Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game, 54 points scored in this game, and although the Detroit Lions are expected to be trailing by 10 in this game, DeAndre Swift, he catches the ball out of the backfield, so he's going to get plenty of touches in this one. So I like DeAndre Swift here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. And if you're looking to save some salary at the running back position, take a look at Jeff Wilson Jr. from the San Francisco 49ers playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing running backs. Jeff Wilson Jr. has averaged 10.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.3 rush attempts per game and 2.1 pass targets per game. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 12, 10, and 8 fantasy points off of 16, 11, and 7 rush attempts. He also had 3 to 5 pass targets in those games, and his rush attempts have been increasing each week for the past 3 weeks. So he got about 20 touches last week, which is excellent volume. He's going to be about 21% owned, projected at 12.2 fantasy points here on Saturday, and he's only 5,000 DraftKings salary and 1,000 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game, with the 49ers trailing by 5. So I like Jeff Wilson Jr. here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Real quick guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. I like Mike Evans from the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the Detroit Lions, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the third most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Mike Evans has averaged 15 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.6 pass targets per game. He scored 20, 9, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 7, 5, and 9 pass targets. He's going to be about 39% owned, projected at 15.2 fantasy points here on Saturday, and he's 6,100 DraftKings salary and 1,400 more on FanDuel. So we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 54 points scored in this game, with the Bucks favored by 10. Fantastic matchup, high-scoring game. So I like Mike Evans here versus the Detroit Lions. And if you're looking to save some salary at the wide receiver position, I got a sleeper pick for you. I like Lynn Bowden Jr. from the Miami Dolphins playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who have the 5th worst defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Lynn Bowden Jr., he scored 11, 15, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 7, 9, and 4 pass targets. He's only going to be about 3% owned, projected at 10 fantasy points here on Saturday, and he's only 3,900 DraftKings salary and 1,400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 48 points scored in this game, with the Miami Dolphins favored by 3. So you got a great matchup and a close, competitive game. So if you're looking for a near minimum salary player to open up your salary for the rest of your lineup, I like Lynn Bowden Jr. here versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. I like TJ Hawkinson from the Detroit Lions playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. TJ Hawkinson has averaged 11.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.6 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 28% owned, projected at 12.4 fantasy points here on Saturday, and he's only 4,600 DraftKings salary and 1,600 more on FanDuel. So this is a great matchup. He had a bad game last week, only 3 fantasy points off of 4 pass targets, but he scored 16 and 15 fantasy points in the 2 games before that off of 11 and 9 pass targets. So he normally gets near double-digit volume and double-digit fantasy points. His salary's low. I think his ownership is about right for a 3-game slate. So I like TJ Hawkinson here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Okay, and one more tight end I just want to point out here. There's some risk involved in this play, but George Kittle has been activated, and they say that he's going to play here on Saturday versus the Arizona Cardinals. So George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers, he's only 5,000 DraftKings salary, and he's 1,000 more on FanDuel. He averaged 17.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.2 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 16% owned, projected at 11.9 fantasy points here on Saturday. They say he's going to be on somewhat of a pitch count, but you really can't trust these coaches. They'll say that, and then the player will play all game and score 3 touchdowns. Now, I don't expect him to get his normal workload, but his salary is come way down. His ownership is low, so I think he makes an interesting daily fantasy play here. So I like George Kittle here versus the Arizona Cardinals. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.